Every woman carries hidden doors to her deepest desires, but not every man knows how to open them. It's not about tricks, it's not about rehearsed lines. It's about knowing where to place your energy, your intention, and yes, even your fingers. The truth is, there are three places on a woman where the slightest touch can awaken her completely, three places that go beyond the physical and slip into the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And once a man learns how to reach these sacred points, she doesn't just feel touched, she feels desired, adored, and claimed in the most powerful way. Today, I want to show you exactly what those three places are and why they matter more than you think. When it comes to truly reaching a woman, most men believe that it begins and ends with her body. They assume that the only way to make her melt, to make her surrender, is by touching her physically, by stirring her skin, by caressing her curves. And while yes, that is a part of it, the reality that so many fail to understand is that the first and most powerful place you must learn to touch is her mind. A woman's mind is her deepest erogenous zone. It is the place where desire is planted, nurtured, and allowed to grow until it blooms into full intimacy. If you cannot touch her mind, you will never fully have her, no matter how skilled you may be with your hands, or how charming you may think you are with your body. Think about it. When a woman listens to a man speak, when she feels the way his words land on her spirit, she is already making a decision about him long before he ever reaches for her physically. If his words show confidence, emotional intelligence, and an ability to see her beyond her appearance, something inside of her shifts. It's almost like a door creaks open, inviting him in. But when his words are shallow, dismissive, or overly rehearsed, the opposite happens. The door slams shut, and nothing he does afterward will matter. Touching her mind is about more than compliments. It is about connection, about knowing how to spark her imagination, her curiosity, her hunger for you without even laying a finger on her skin. Every woman craves a man who can mentally stimulate her, who can excite her with ideas, who can challenge her thoughts in a way that feels respectful yet daring. When you ask her questions that go beyond the ordinary, questions that make her pause, reflect, and share, you are already doing more than most men ever will. You're showing her that you care about the landscape of her inner world. And let me tell you something. When a woman feels that a man is genuinely fascinated by the way her mind works, she doesn't just feel admired, she feels valued. That value is intoxicating, and it creates a bond that no physical touch alone can achieve. Imagine sitting across from a woman, and instead of telling her how beautiful she looks, you lean in and say, "What's the one dream you've never told anyone because you're afraid they won't understand it?" That question touches her mind. Or you tell her, "I love the way your mind jumps from one idea to the next. It's like I'm watching brilliance unfold." That affirmation doesn't just stroke her ego. It stirs her intellect. It tells her that you are not intimidated by her intelligence, but rather drawn to it. That's how you begin to touch her in ways that linger long after your conversation ends. A woman wants to be mentally undressed before she is physically undressed. What does that mean? It means she wants a man who sees beyond the layers she presents to the world. She wants someone who can notice the details, her wit, her sense of humor, her perspective, and strip away the armor she wears. This is why conversations that dive deeper than the surface are so powerful. When she talks about her day and you listen, really listen, not just waiting for your turn to speak, you touch her. When she mentions something small, like her favorite book, and you bring it up later in a thoughtful way, you touch her again. These small touches to her mind accumulate and form an intimacy that no kiss or caress can ever replace. Now, let's get bold for a moment. Do you know why so many women fall for men who aren't necessarily the most handsome in the room, or the richest, or even the most socially powerful? It's because those men know how to intrigue her mind. They know how to feed her curiosity, how to play with her thoughts, how to dance with her imagination. Desire begins in the head before it ever reaches the body. A woman who is mentally aroused will crave you in ways that are far more passionate, far more consuming than a woman who is only physically aroused, because the mind keeps replaying the touch long after the hands have gone. Touching her mind also requires emotional intelligence. It's not enough to be witty or clever. You must know how to read her emotions, how to respond in ways that make her feel safe and seen. When she feels anxious and you know how to calm her with your words, you're touching her. When she feels joyful and you celebrate that joy instead of dimming it, you're touching her. When she feels vulnerable and you don't judge her but instead hold space for her truth, you're touching her more deeply than you ever could by holding her hand. Think of her mind like a sacred garden. If you tend to it with curiosity, patience, and respect, it will bloom. If you neglect it or trample through it carelessly, it will wither. Many men try to rush straight to the body without first planting seeds in the mind, and then they wonder why their relationships lack depth, why their intimacy feels shallow, why their connection fades over time. The answer is simple. They skipped the first and most important step. They didn't touch her where it matters most, her thoughts, her imagination, her inner dialogue. There's a certain kind of intimacy that happens when a woman realizes she can talk to you about anything without fear of being judged. That intimacy is magnetic. When she can laugh with you about silly things, cry with you about painful things, and dream with you about impossible things, she is being touched. Her guard begins to lower, her soul begins to lean in, and her desire for you grows in ways you cannot measure. She doesn't just want you, she needs you, because you have touched the part of her that very few ever bother to reach. And let's not forget playfulness. Playfulness is one of the most overlooked forms of mental stimulation. Women love men who can make them laugh, who can spark joy in their minds, who can turn ordinary moments into something extraordinary with humor, wit, or even a little mischievous banter. That playful mental touch is like foreplay. It teases her, excites her, makes her lean closer without even realizing it. A well-placed joke, a clever remark, a playful challenge. All of these are fingers running through the strands of her thoughts. And the more you do it, the more she craves being around you. The truth is, women are constantly bombarded with surface-level attention, men complimenting their looks, their bodies, their smiles. But very few men stand out because very few know how to touch the mind. When you do, you separate yourself from the rest. You become unforgettable. You become the man she thinks about late at night when she's lying in bed. You become the man whose words echo in her head long after you've left the room. That's the power of the first place, the mind. Now here's where it gets even more romantic. When you touch her mind, you're not just giving her pleasure. You're giving her freedom, freedom to be herself without fear of judgment. Freedom to express her deepest thoughts without being dismissed. Freedom to be more than just a body, more than just a pretty face. That freedom is addictive, and once she experiences it with you, she will always come back for more. Because in a world where women are often reduced to their looks, the man who touches her mind stands out as a rare and precious treasure. So, remember this. Before you ever reach for her hand, before you ever kiss her lips, before you ever trace her skin, reach for her thoughts. Touch her curiosity, touch her intelligence, touch her humor, touch her dreams. If you can do that, you will unlock a part of her that no one else has ever dared to touch. And when a woman feels touched in her mind, her entire being responds. Her heart softens, her body opens, and her soul begins to intertwine with yours. That is the power of the first place. That is where desire is born and where true intimacy begins. If the first place you must touch a woman is her mind, then the second is her heart. And when I say her heart, I'm not only speaking about the organ that beats within her chest, but the very core of her emotions, her feelings, her vulnerabilities, and her sense of being loved and cherished. Too many men underestimate the power of a woman's heart. They believe that once they stimulate her mind or win her attention with charm, the rest will follow. But the truth is, if you cannot touch her heart, you will never have her loyalty, her devotion, or her deepest affection. Touching her heart is the key that transforms temporary attraction into lasting connection. It is what makes her not just desire you in the moment, but trust you with her soul. A woman's heart is sensitive, but it is also strong. It carries the weight of her past experiences, her childhood memories, her scars, her disappointments, her moments of joy, and her dreams for the future. When you engage with her heart, you are engaging with the most sacred part of who she is. And unlike her mind, which can be intrigued with words, her heart requires action. A woman's heart is touched by consistency, by presence, by the way you show up for her when it matters most. It's not about grand gestures alone, it's about the quiet ways you remind her that she is valued, respected, and cared for. Let me make this clear: any man can buy a woman flowers, take her out to dinner, or shower her with gifts. But those things will never touch her heart if they are not backed by sincerity. A woman knows when a gesture is real and when it is performed only to gain something in return. When a man's actions are genuine, when he does something purely out of love or thoughtfulness without expecting immediate reward, that's when he touches her. For example, remembering the small details she shares, the kind of tea she likes, the way she prefers her blanket folded, the song that makes her feel safe, and then surprising her with those little acts of care. That is how you leave fingerprints on her heart. Touching her heart also means being present in her emotions. Women are emotional beings not because they are fragile, but because they are deeply attuned to the rhythm of life. They feel things more fully, they notice details, they process experiences with a sensitivity that many men overlook. When you can stand beside her in those emotions, whether it is joy, sadness, frustration, or excitement, you show her that she doesn't have to carry life alone. If she comes home after a long day and you listen without trying to immediately fix everything, but instead validate her feelings, you're touching her heart. When she cries and you don't tell her to stop or dismiss it as weakness, but instead hold her and let her release, you're touching her heart. Let's be bold here. Do you know why some women fall for men who may not be the best looking, the richest, or even the most charming? It's because those men knew how to speak to her heart. They weren't afraid to be vulnerable, to share their own truths, to let her see their authenticity. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is strength. And when you, as a man, are willing to open up just enough to show her your real self, you invite her to do the same. That mutual exchange of honesty creates a bond that cannot be broken by time, distance, or even challenges. Many men think women are complicated, but in truth they are not. They are layered, yes, but at their core, what most women want is to feel loved in a way that is safe and secure. They want to know that the man they open their heart to will not play with it, exploit it, or discard it when he grows bored. And this is why actions matter more than words. Telling her you love her is good, but showing her you love her through how you treat her, how you prioritize her, and how you protect her emotionally, that is what truly touches her heart. Now imagine this. Imagine you're with a woman who has been let down in the past. She has heard promises that were never kept. She has given her heart only to have it broken. Her walls are high, and her trust is guarded. If you try to rush past those walls, she will resist. But if you approach her with patience, with kindness, with the willingness to prove through your actions that you are different, slowly those walls begin to crumble. She starts to let you in piece by piece, and when she realizes that you are consistent, that your love is not conditional, that your affection is not performative, her heart begins to trust you. And let me tell you this, when a woman's heart fully trusts you, she gives herself in ways that are passionate, loyal, and unshakable. Touching her heart also involves appreciation. Noticing the things she does that often go unseen, the way she supports you when you're struggling, the way she cares for the people around her, the effort she puts into making your life better, and then acknowledging it. A simple, heartfelt "I see what you did, and I appreciate it" can touch her deeper than the most expensive gift. Women want to feel that their love is not taken for granted, that their efforts are not invisible. When you acknowledge her heart, she feels seen, and being seen is one of the greatest forms of intimacy you can offer. Let's not forget romance. Romance is not just about candlelight dinners and roses. Romance is about thoughtfulness. It's about creating little moments that remind her she is special, sending her a message in the middle of the day telling her you were thinking of her, holding her hand when you're walking in public because you're proud to be with her, leaving her a note in a place where she least expects it. These things may seem small, but they touch her heart in ways that last. They make her feel adored, and every woman wants to feel adored. And here's a bold truth: touching her heart also means respecting her boundaries. When a woman says no, when she expresses discomfort, when she communicates her limits, respecting that without pressure or manipulation shows her that her heart is safe with you. Nothing touches a woman deeper than knowing that her voice matters, that her feelings are honored. This creates trust, and trust is the foundation of intimacy. Without trust, everything else crumbles. But when a woman knows she can trust you with her emotions, her secrets, her body, and her soul, she will give you a level of intimacy that no surface-level interaction can ever achieve. There is also a spiritual layer to touching a woman's heart. For many women, love is not just physical or emotional, it's spiritual. It's about feeling connected to something larger, something deeper. When you can connect with her values, her beliefs, her sense of purpose, you touch her in ways that transcend the material. If she's passionate about helping others and you support her in that, you touch her heart. If she has dreams and you encourage them instead of diminishing them, you touch her heart. If you pray with her, meditate with her, or simply share moments of stillness together, you create a spiritual intimacy that binds you even closer. Let me give you a reality check here. Women remember how you made them feel far more than what you said or did. Years later, she may not recall the exact words of your conversation or the exact gift you gave, but she will remember how her heart felt in your presence. Did she feel loved? Did she feel respected? Did she feel safe? Did she feel cherished? That is the true measure of whether you touched her heart. So many men chase physical gratification and overlook this truth. But the irony is, when you learn to touch her heart first, the physical connection becomes even more passionate. A woman who feels loved emotionally will open herself physically without hesitation. Her intimacy will be deeper, her passion more consuming, because it comes from a place of trust and love rather than obligation or temporary excitement. So, my message to you is this: if you truly want to reach a woman, don't just focus on her beauty, don't just focus on her body, don't just focus on stimulating her mind. Learn to touch her heart, show her that her emotions matter. Prove through your actions that she is safe with you. Cherish her, appreciate her, respect her, and romance her. If you can do that, she will give you the kind of love that men spend lifetimes searching for. Because when you touch a woman's heart, you don't just win her affection, you win her soul. If the mind is the first place you must learn to touch, and the heart is the second, then the third is the body. And here, I don't just mean her physical form as something you claim, but as something you honor, explore, and awaken. A woman's body is her temple, her sanctuary, her vessel of joy, of expression, of intimacy. To touch her body in the right way is not just about pleasure, it's about reverence. It's about knowing that her body carries her stories, her memories, her strength, and her vulnerability. And if you treat it with careless hands, you will miss the chance to make her feel desired in ways that leave an imprint on her soul. Touching her body is not about being aggressive, nor is it about following some checklist of techniques. It is about presence. It is about being fully attuned to her responses, her breath, the way her muscles relax or tighten under your fingertips. A woman can always tell the difference between a man who touches her body out of selfish desire and a man who touches her because he wants to make her feel treasured. The former leaves her empty, the latter makes her glow. And when you make her glow, you don't just ignite her passion, you awaken her femininity. Let's begin with the truth that most men ignore. A woman's body cannot be rushed. She is not a switch to be flipped on and off. She is a symphony, a delicate progression of rhythms that build, crescendo, and release in their own time. When you try to rush her, you silence the music. But when you are patient, when you savor every moment, her body begins to respond to you with an openness that cannot be faked. That patience is a form of touch in itself. It tells her you are worth the wait, you are worth the attention, and that message is intoxicating. To touch her body means understanding that every inch of her skin is alive, that her body is not divided into zones of pleasure and non-pleasure, but that the entire landscape can be awakened when approached with intention. The way you hold her hand, the way you brush her hair away from her face, the way you place your palm on the small of her back, all of these are touches that communicate desire, protection, and love. You don't need to go straight to the obvious places. In fact, the art lies in the unexpected. When you kiss her forehead with tenderness, when you trace her collarbone, when you let your fingers linger on her wrist, you remind her that she is not just a body to be consumed, but a woman to be cherished. And here's a reality most men don't realize. Women long to feel both adored and claimed in the way you touch them. They want gentleness, yes, but they also want firmness. They want to feel your strength, your confidence, your masculinity in the way you hold them. When your hand rests on her waist with intention, when you pull her close and she feels the steadiness of your presence, it awakens something primal inside of her. The balance of tenderness and dominance, of care and certainty, is what makes her body surrender to your touch. It tells her that she is safe in your strength, yet desired in your passion. Touching her body also requires attentiveness. Every woman is different. What makes one woman shiver with delight might mean nothing to another. And so the art lies in observation. Pay attention to her breathing, the way her eyes close, the way her lips part, the way her body leans closer or pulls away. Those are her languages, her way of telling you how she feels. When you can read those silent cues, when you adjust your touch not based on what you want but based on how she responds, you show her that her body matters, that her pleasure matters. That attentiveness is rare, and that rarity will make you unforgettable. Now, let us not shy away from the truth. A woman desires to be touched in ways that go beyond casual affection. She wants passion, intensity, fire. She wants to feel like your hands cannot get enough of her, like every curve, every angle of her body is sacred to you. But again, passion without reverence is just lust, and lust alone cannot sustain intimacy. When you combine passion with reverence, desire with respect, fire with gentleness, that is when you touch her body in the way she craves most. She wants to feel your hunger, yes, but she also wants to feel your devotion. And when those two collide in your touch, she will be undone. Think of the way you look at her body. Your eyes are touches too. A woman feels it when your gaze lingers with admiration instead of objectification. She feels it when you look at her not just as someone to satisfy you, but as someone who is beautiful, radiant, and worthy of worship. That gaze alone can ignite her body because she feels seen. When you kiss her, don't just kiss her lips. Kiss her like you mean it. Kiss her like you're speaking a language only the two of you understand. Let your kiss travel, let it explore, let it communicate things words cannot. A kiss can tell her, I want you, but it can also tell her, you are mine and I am yours. Touching her body also means knowing how to create safety. Many women carry insecurities about their bodies, about how they look, how they compare, or whether they are enough. When you touch her with acceptance, when you adore the parts she may not adore about herself, when you tell her she is beautiful without conditions, you heal those insecurities. You become the mirror through which she sees herself differently, and once she feels secure in your touch, she will release herself fully into your hands. Safety is the foundation of surrender. Without it, her body will resist. With it, her body will blossom. Do you see now how profound this third place is? It's not just about physical gratification. It's about creating an experience where her body becomes a canvas and your touch becomes the paintbrush. Every stroke, every caress, every kiss tells a story. And that story lingers far longer than the moment itself. She remembers how you touched her when she wakes up the next morning. She remembers it when she goes about her day. She remembers it because her body has been marked not just physically, but emotionally. And here's the boldest truth. If you have already touched her mind and her heart, then touching her body becomes an extension of those two. It is no longer just flesh meeting flesh. It is soul meeting soul through the language of touch. Her body responds not just because of the sensation, but because of the emotional and mental connection you've built. This is why some touches feel empty while others feel electric. It's not the technique, it's the depth behind it. When your touch carries love, respect, desire, and presence, her body will come alive in ways you cannot imagine. So many men reduce intimacy to mechanics, to physical acts. But the true art is in the energy. It's in the way you breathe with her, the way your touch adapts to her rhythm, the way you create a dance of closeness that is both playful and passionate. If you can make her laugh while you touch her, if you can make her feel safe while you desire her, if you can make her body feel celebrated instead of consumed, then you are no longer just touching her body, you are touching her soul through her body. And finally, let me leave you with this truth. A woman never forgets the man who knew how to touch her body with reverence. She may forget the words, she may forget the details of the moment, but she will never forget how her body felt alive in his hands. She will never forget the safety, the fire, the tenderness, the strength. That memory stays etched into her being. And if you can be that man, if you can touch her body in a way that is mindful, passionate, and sacred, you will hold a place in her heart and her mind forever. Because the third place, her body, is not the beginning, it is the culmination of everything else. It is where love becomes physical, where desire becomes tangible, where intimacy becomes undeniable. And when you touch her there, with presence and reverence, you will make her feel not just wanted, but deeply, profoundly, and completely desired. At the end of the day, every woman longs to be touched in her mind, her heart, and her body. When you learn how to honor all three, you don't just win her love, you win her soul. If this message spoke to you, share your thoughts in the comments below, because I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more, and hit that bell so you never miss the wisdom that could transform your relationships forever.